Hello, Rise and Thrivers. So excited to be here with you this evening. Hopefully, you all are doing well. As you can see, it's just me. We were supposed to have our guest, Hal Eisenberg, friend to our show. We've known him, we love him. He's been on here several times. However, Hal had a conflict. He is in demand. And so he was unable to join us, but we will reschedule him. And Reg is dealing with a friend. Reg is all about community, and so she is out and serving and helping a friend, and also she is helping and serving herself by resting up so that she can support her friend. So just me and wrapping up this conversation on pruning away things that are no longer serving us. And I think this is such a great time for this conversation, like we said in the beginning of the month, because we are entering into a new season as far as the calendar. But like we talked about last week, some of us may already be in a different season, not the calendar season of going into fall, but we may be in a different season of our lives. So we talked about this whole month about pruning and the importance of it, right? But there's some things that we did not cover regarding pruning in our lives. And one of them, an important reason I'm just going to dive on in here with you tonight, is it's important because pruning helps us to avoid being overwhelmed. Now, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, how does pruning help someone avoid being overwhelmed? And pruning can help you avoid the stress and aimlessness that comes from doing too much. How many of you out there are doing too much? And you know when you're doing too much because you're always tired. You never have time. You can barely get any kind of rest when you settle down for the night. Your mind is always racing. And by cutting back on busy work, oops, there's that word busy work. Yes, there are times where some of us are just doing busy work and we're not being productive. Busy work does not equal productivity. Busy work just means you're not getting done what really should be getting done. We're not targeting and honing in on what's important, on what's a priority. That's what busy work is. We're not being productive. So we get so distracted by this busy work and thinking that we're doing something and we're being productive, and that's not the case. When we're doing all this busy work, we can't focus on what's important and what is meaningful. So when we are able to prune away, which will help us avoid being overwhelmed, we get to avoid the stress and aimlessness from doing too much. How many of you out there feel like, if you're honest with yourself, not but honest with me, but you're honest with yourself, and you can honestly say that you're doing too much? I know there was a time for me when I was doing too much and I was doing so much stuff that I wasn't being productive. I really and truly was just being busy, but not productive. I was never able to accomplish anything. I was working into the wee hours of the morning. I mean, I do that not so much now, but when I'm working now, it's because I'm grading. And that is productive work. But before, I was doing a bunch of busy work. And let me tell you, I got nowhere fast. I just got burned out. and I was always exhausted and cranky. Ooh, how many of y'all get cranky when you are in a state of overwhelm? And then you start to say, "Oh, well, I have to do this because, and I've got to get this done for X, Y, and Z." And do you really ever get it done? And if you do get it done, how well is the work that you're doing? How efficient, how on point is that work? So when we talk about pruning, let's start to prune away this overwhelm that we have. Because some of us, and I was guilty of this, feeling like if I'm not doing something, that means I'm unproductive. If I'm just sitting and relaxing, that means I'm unproductive. And how far from the truth is that? When I realized this, and it took a while, y'all, it took a while for me to realize this. But when I realized that just sitting and being still is productivity and being productive, oh, y'all, I try to sit often when I can, even when I have to make time. And believe it or not, I have to carve out time to be productive. I have to carve out time to sit and be still because that's important. For me to get my mind right and my spirit right, I need to be still. And so, as we're pruning, let's think about this, avoiding the overwhelm. Let's think about, hey, am I just doing busy work or am I really and truly being productive? Because if you find it's just busy work, you may need to look at that, all of whatever it is that you're working on, and start pruning some of that stuff away and just focus in on what's important and what's meaningful. See, there are days where I know I go to bed late because I'm working, but the work that I'm doing is meaningful. As an educator, you've got to grade. You've got to respond to students. So let's start taking a look at the work that we're doing, the overwhelm that we may be in, and let's start pruning away what's just busy work, and let's focus and hone in on what's important and meaningful and give that our attention. See, we didn't talk about that this month, about the pruning away and to avoid overwhelm. Okay. Another thing to consider when you're in this state or frame of mind or season of pruning, ineffective traits. Pruning away ineffective traits. Now, y'all are like, Rack, what the heck is that? And I'm going to tell you. Pruning can help you identify and remove negative thoughts and emotions that can stunt your growth. I'll say that again because it is worth repeating. Pruning can help you identify and remove negative thoughts and emotions that can stunt your growth. Let me tell y'all something. I am not the tallest person in the world. I like to say I am vertically challenged. I am a whopping 5 feet 4 inches tall. Okay. I don't need anything that's going to stunt my growth. And I know we're not talking growth in height. However, I need nothing to stunt my growth. Doing so, meaning pruning away and identifying and removing those negative thoughts and emotions that stunt your growth, can help you avoid this. What's a good word I want to use? This behavior that's not serving us. Engaging in a behavior that's not serving us. When we can do that, when we can just prune away these negative thoughts and emotions and get rid of the behavior that's not serving us, that helps us stay on track for not being stunted in our area of growth, but growing. It also helps us stay on track for being successful, whatever successful means to you. But we've got to remove these ineffective traits, these negative thoughts and emotions that come. And y'all, let me tell you something, they come. They come from the left, right, center, up, down, all around. You feel sometimes like you're encompassed. You're in this little bubble with all these negative thoughts and emotions. But it is so important, one, to recognize when that's happening, and two, to cut them out, prune them, because they are only going to stunt your growth. They're going to stop you from accomplishing the goals that will lead to your success. And if you're okay with that, I say, hey, go ahead. But if you are not, it is time to take action and really and truly start to engage in self awareness and notice when those thoughts are coming and those emotions. See, we are thinking, feeling, acting beings. That's why notice it said remove negative thoughts and emotions and help you avoid the behaviors that can stunt your growth because we are thinking, feeling, acting beings. It is really and truly time for us to get serious about what we're pruning out of our lives. And because we're so used to it, it may take some time. But let me tell you, I've heard this probably at church. And it's how do you cut off a monkey's tail? You don't cut it off one piece at a time, right? Because you don't want stuff to grow back. You want to chop that thing off once, boom, right at the tail end. Tail end, what a pun. But you want to cut it off in one shot, not bit by bit, a piece at a time, because you don't want to allow things to grow back. You don't want to create space for them. You want to cut it off and be able to fill that space with something more productive, thoughts that are more productive, emotions that are conducive to your well being and your growth. This, oh, well, let me do some today and some tomorrow. No, 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 no. Sometimes it's a one and done. It is like cold turkey. Got to just cut it off. You have to just do it. Otherwise, it festers and you give it life and it gets even bigger and bigger. You don't want that in your life. You don't want anything to hinder your growth and you from being successful. Does that make sense? Another reason to prune, y'all, is to grow spiritually. Wow. Pruning can be an important part of growing in your relationship with God. Why? Because you are making space. All the stuff that's coming, that's in there, that's clouding and stopping you from getting in touch. For me, it's with God, right? And this busy work that we have stops us from communing with God or whomever you believe in. You want nothing that is going to hinder your relationship with God. You want to cut that out. You don't want that to get in the way, right? You don't want bad relationships that you're in to get in the way. And that doesn't just mean intimate relationships, it can also mean friendships. There are some bad friendships that are not benefiting, they're not helping us to grow and be the best person that we can be. They're not pouring into us. We may just be pouring into them all the time. That is not an equal relationship. And that relationship drains and takes so much of your energy that you don't have time now to go to God in prayer. You don't have time now to read your Bible. You don't have time because this relationship is exhausting and impacts and interferes with your relationship with God or higher power, whoever you believe in. That's why it's time to start pruning. You want to grow spiritually? Cut out some of that stuff, those people, those thoughts that are hindering that growth. Okay? Let me say this. Let's really and truly, and we talked about this before. We talked about a plant growing. When a plant gets too big for the pot that it's in, how many of you purposely leave it in that pot? Type it in the chat, and however you want to do it, type it in the chat. I think that's all y'all can do. I'm not as gifted as Regina to give you the link and have you join me. So type it in the chat. How many of you that have houseplants leave them in a pot that's too small? My question is to you is what happens to that pot? What happens to that plant when the pot is too small? It has outgrown that pot and you are forcing it to stay there. That plant can't reach its full potential. So what happens? That plant starts to die. That's the same thing with us when we don't prune and get a bigger pot so that we can grow. And the only way for us to get a bigger pot is to prune away the stuff that's keeping us stuck in that old small pot. That small pot is uncomfortable. That's an uncomfortable space to be in. It's time. I almost said young people because I'm always talking to my students and calling them young people. But it is time to prune away all those things and people, emotions, busy work that's stopping us from growing as a person, growing spiritually, and growing, getting closer to God and bettering our relationship with other people that are worth us having a relationship with. I was about to say something and it was like, don't say it. Y'all heard me stumble. It's because don't say what I'm about to say. It'll be released. Um, Pruning away. Also, you're creating space for a purposeful life. Listen, every single one of us is here for a purpose. Sorry, someone Anita put in the chat, it will also be too painful. Yes, she's talking about the monkey. She probably posted that when I was talking about the monkey tail, cutting it off piece by piece by piece. If I'm gonna feel pain, I'm feel it one time. Boom. I remember now that I said that, when I was younger, I was in undergrad and had to get my wisdom teeth out because of course then it was becoming impacted and bothering all the other teeth and whatnot. And the dentist was like, hey, we've got to pull out your wisdom teeth. And I was like, all right, you know what? If I'm gonna feel pain, I'm gonna feel it one time. I am not coming back here 4 times for you, 4 times for you to take out a tooth per visit. That was not happening. I had him pull all four of my wisdom teeth. I think I was nuts. Um, all four in one shot. So like the monkey's tail cut it off one time. That's what Anita is referring to, saying it was too painful, too much pain to just do it one piece by piece by piece, one time. Okay. So if you're going to start pruning, you know I'm going to say I recommend that you do because we all need to prune. Hmm. Some people are like, I don't need to prune. I'm good. Okay. Show me where you spend your time and I'll show you what you value. Pruning helps to create a purposeful life. We are all here for a purpose and we have a purpose. And we are here on purpose. We're not here by accident. There's not a single person that was an accident. I just typed, I had my birthday was yesterday and I got lots of love on Facebook and I just wrote back to everyone. I said, thank you so much. It was truly a blessing. And remember, life is happening. Life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. That's a part of creating a more purposeful life by pruning out those emotions, the behaviors, the thoughts, the people. Pruning can help you create a more purposeful life by helping you focus on what's important and meaningful. Do you get the theme here, ladies and gentlemen? The theme here is to prune away so that you can focus on what is important and what is meaningful. Not the busy work, not the distractions, but what's important and what's meaningful to you in your life. See, when we decide we're not pruning, we just gonna let everything grow that wants to grow, all the weeds. Guess what the weeds do? Y'all, any gardeners here? I'm not like a real gardener. I am one in my head, but I'm not a for real gardener. But I do grow um, like tomatoes and peppers and stuff on the counter. I have one of those, what do you call them? Arrow gardens. And I still have to even prune that. But for those gardeners outside, backyard, that y'all are growing stuff and the weeds start to grow, do you let the weeds grow and just stifle everything else? No, what do you do with them? Can't hear you. You prune them. So why is it that you are willing to prune weeds in a garden outside, but you are not willing or you are unwilling to prune weeds? Y'all know where I'm going with this, right? In your own life. Why do you allow those weeds to stay and suck out your energy, stifle your life, stifle your growth, stifle your purpose? But you'll go outside in that garden and spend hours pulling up them weeds, and hmm, your life is being stifled. When are you going to pull the weeds in the garden of your life in order to create space for something more meaningful, in order to create space for what's important, in order to create space for a person? Some people may be looking. When are we going to start doing that instead of going outside? Not saying not to take care of your garden, but daggone it, take care of the garden that's right here. Start pruning. Is it painful? Absolutely, because it's something that's new. But my goodness, isn't it so worth it when you hear about all the wonderful things that come about with pruning? When pruning your life, it's important. You've got to be mindful of the timing. Why do I say timing? What does timing have to do with it? It's got a whole lot. You want to prune before you become that bitter, resentful, just nasty person that nobody wants to be around. You want to prune before you get to that point because you won't prune after, because that weed has taken root so deep. The only person that can pull it out, the man upstairs, and not your neighbor if you live in an apartment, is God. He was giving you the signs to prune all the time, and you ignored that. Let me tell you, don't become bitter and resentful and have that be your garden. Too many people walking around who are bitter and resentful. And instead of living life, they are just existing. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, to start pruning. And not for other people. You're pruning for you. You're pruning to avoid overwhelm. You're pruning to remove ineffective traits. Ineffective meaning they don't serve a purpose. We are pruning to make room for new growth. If I don't prune, nothing new can fit in. There's nothing that can fit in when I'm so overgrown and crowded. There's no space for anything. And there definitely ain't no space for anyone. How many of you have a closet that's like busting at the seams? Busting at the seams. I mean, y'all struggling to push the clothes aside when you got to hang up stuff. How many of you have that closet? You know, I'm going to ask the question, why? You got clothes in there that you ain't wear about 5 years. Why you still got them in the closet? Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to prune that closet. And for some of us, we have to start small. My suggestion is start with the closet. There's no reason your closet door should not close. Who am I talking to out there in this land? I notice y'all quiet in the chat. Who am I talking to that has a closet with clothes that you haven't worn in 5 years? They typically say fashionistas, if you haven't worn it in the last year, you will not wear it. Please bless somebody else. Open the room for more. Stop holding on to stuff that's not serving you. Like that fur coat, it's from 1942. Bless somebody with that. If you want to get, you have to give. That's the exchange. You want to prune. Let me continue to grow spiritually. You want to prune to create a more purposeful life. And I know there's some people out there who feel like I have no purpose. I'm just here and I'm simply existing. And Reg and I are here to tell you the reason you feel like that is because you've got so much stuff, so many weeds in your garden, in your life, in your heart that you need to prune away and create space. Let me tell you this. When you start pruning, you feel lighter. Your shoulders aren't weighed down with all that busy work, ineffective thoughts, behaviors that no longer serve, emotions that just drag you down. You don't have all of that. You feel light. There's a spring in your step. Do you know why? Because you've created space for what used to be filled with unhappiness and regret and lack of purpose. You've created a space for possibility. What's possible? You've created a space to know and understand what your purpose is. But you won't get any of that until you start pruning away. I call them weeds. You can call them whatever. You can give them a name if you want to. But ladies and gentlemen, to not prune means you're not creating a purposeful life. You're not growing spiritually. You are not making room for new growth. You are holding near ineffective traits, and you will always be filled with overwhelm. Is that the life you want to live? Is it? If it is, but I say that's you. Do you? What do they say? Do you, boo? But as far as me, no. I know I'm here for a purpose, and I'm here to fulfill that purpose. And the only way that I can do it effectively and efficiently is to prune away the things that are trying to weigh me down and hold me down. It is time to cut those things, people, places, behaviors, thoughts, emotions, prune them all away. If not now, then when? When will you start pruning? When you start feeling resentful and bitter and you have regret? How are you going to prune at that point? Because, see, at that point, as I said, it's taken deep roots in you. And you want to move it on, got to turn to God, but you've got to create space because you got it so cloudy and crowded in there. You've pushed him out. It's time to start clearing away so that you can see what's before you. It's time to realize, recognize, and get in action on your purpose. It's time. See, I thought this was pruning. Yes, it is about pruning, and it is time to start pruning. We have this thing about, oh, the end of the year is coming. Let me start doing stuff. Why do we wait 360 some odd days before we start pruning? Start pruning now. Because for some of us, we're going to have to mourn the loss of what we've pruned away. Girl, bye. Don't be prune. Don't waste time and energy on mourning that. It held you captive for too long. And it is now time to be free, to grow, and allow new things, new places, new people, new experiences in your life. So there's no better time than today to start pruning your life. I want to thank you all for being here with me. It is always, when we tell you this, it is always an honor and a privilege for Reg and I to come here every single week and serve you, because that's what we do. We're on our purpose. We're living our purpose and on our assignment. So we don't take it for granted. We don't take you for granted. We boldly stand up and walk in our purpose. And our wish, our prayer, I should say, for you is that you do the same. Go boldly into walking in your purpose. That's why you're here. And there's no better time, like I said, than today. Don't wait until bitterness stifles you, and resentment and regret and hate. Those things are too heavy to carry. For some of you, you've been carrying it for too long. Start pruning. Start living and not just existing. Start today. I need y'all to do something, Rise and Thrivers. We've got to pray for strength for Reg as she supports her friend. And also for those of you who've seen Howard Brown on our show. He is he who runs a podcast, Shining Brightly. Please keep him in your prayers. He is a 2-time cancer survivor, and our prayer is that he now becomes a 3-time. He was just diagnosed very recently. 3rd time he has cancer. Please keep him and his family in your prayers, because they will all need it. So thank you for that. We love you, we appreciate you, and we want to see you shining and walking in your purpose. And I want you guys to remember, as always, I love to say this. I really do. Together, we can rise and thrive. Till next time.
With peace, love, unity, and compassion. Time to bust this out and start this power.